If Sean Combs watches this, what do you think he's going to feel?
Like, wow, this is amazing. I think he's going to say this is the best documentary I've seen in a long time. Because you'll see people saying that. I mean, he may feel a different way about pieces and bits of it, but he knows the truth.
I was at a party at Diddy crib in LA. This was the beginning of 2020. You know what I mean? Diddy had put everybody else out the crib, like the influx of people he had put him out. But he had took a liking to me in particular around the time, man. It was really, you know what I mean, like putting his arm around me.
Right.
So he had put majority of the people out, but he allowed me to stay in there. Mm-hmm. Me and, you know, maybe about 15 others, you know,
right.
Jay-Z and Beyoncé being, you know, two of the other 15 people in the room. So that just put into perspective of the type of company I was in.
Right. And people know there's drugs, there's alcohol, there's loose women, there's loose men.
For some reason, y'all like to conveniently forget what age Foxy Brown was when he was with her. Y'all like to forget that he was rolling with R. Kelly and they was doing a lot of things together.
For decades, Sean Combs stood as one of hip-hop's most dominant forces shaping careers, dictating trends and leaving his fingerprints across an entire culture. Today, that legacy is crumbling. A cascade of lawsuits, federal investigations, and deeply troubling accounts of his private events has thrown his empire into freefall. As new details continue to surface, figures once considered untouchable, including Jay-Z and Beyoncé, are finding their names, drawn into the widening controversy. From explosive podcast confessions to unsettling questions about who knew what and when, the fallout is sending shockwaves through the music industry. Here, we separate what has been confirmed from what remains alleged, and examine why this scandal has an entire industry holding its breath.
Fox News alert, we're learning a lot more about the massive federal raid at Diddy's homes in Miami and LA. According to TMZ, the first thing the feds did once they got to Diddy's property was immediately disable his surveillance system and seize all his footage. And it wasn't just security footage they were after. Homeland Security also confiscated hard drives, phones, and other electronics, focusing on finding photos, emails, and names linking others to the alleged operation. These tactics straight out of the Epstein playbook. Seize the footage, but then what? Bury it? Blackmail with it? We don't know. Will anybody ever know what was on Diddy's cameras? And will this investigation lead to indictments that go higher up the food chain? And how high? Politicians, athletes, celebrities, music executives, all were recorded inside Diddy's parties. Officials say that Diddy's alleged victims have not been holding back during their interviews and are telling investigators everything. We'll keep you up to date on all of these details and more as soon as we hear them.
Sean Combs, the influential hip-hop mogul and founder of Bad Boy Records, has been entangled in serious legal battles that show no sign of slowing down. Among the charges he faces are racketeering and sex trafficking allegations, tied to accusations of abuse and what court documents refer to as freak-offs, a term describing coerced, exploitative encounters involving victims. The severity of the case became even clearer when federal authorities raided Combs' properties in Los Angeles and Miami earlier in 2024, seizing video evidence and over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. The raids, carried out by Homeland Security agents in tactical gear, were part of a sweeping months-long federal investigation, one that has since sent shockwaves far beyond Combs himself and deep into the upper levels of the music industry.
What were federal investigators in tactical gear looking for at Sean Diddy Combs' home in Los Angeles and Miami? Homeland Security says the raids were part of a months-long federal investigation, including the King.
If he's convicted, ultimately, he'll be in prison for a very long time. One count of typically is 10 to 15 years in prison.
16 cases of Astroglide, bullets, even semi-automatic firearms were all found in Combs' homes during those raids last year. There's also text messages now that we're seeing of Diddy calling Cassie ungrateful.
These allegations have sent shockwaves through the music industry, casting a harsh spotlight on Diddy's inner circle. Numerous public figures have since surfaced in lawsuits and online discourse, prompting a wave of first-hand accounts from people claiming direct exposure to his world. One such voice belongs to DaBaby, born Jonathan. Lindale Kirk, who recently sat down with Shannon Sharpe on the Club Shay Shay podcast and recounted a deeply unsettling experience from Lee. Lee and Lee. Lee at Lee. Lee, look at this. Lee, look at this. And we all know, I've been exploring. And we Lee Elset, Lee Kirk, who recently sat down with Contali/Clickton, I can't lead. I'll resize. I'll lead Sid. I lead quote, CHC/CYCC. Early 2020, he described attending a private gathering at Combs' Los Angeles residence, one that initially appeared to be a standard industry party. That perception quickly shifted. As the night progressed, the majority of guests were asked to leave, with only around 15 people permitted. To stay a setup he would later recognize as consistent with what court documents call a freak off. He claimed that among those who remained were some of music's biggest names, including Jay-Z and Beyoncé. The exclusivity of the room, he said, was immediately apparent. He also alleged that Combs showed a particular uncomfortable interest in him throughout the night, at times placing his arm around him in a manner that felt deliberate and unsettling.
You know what I mean? Like putting his arm around me.
Right.
So he had put majority of the people out, but he allowed me to stay in there. Me and, maybe about 15 others,
Right.
Jay-Z and Beyoncé being, two of the other 15 people in the room. So that'll just put into perspective of the type of company I was in
Right.
at the moment, and she came over and introduced herself to me like as if she had to.
Right.
Beyonce, cut it out. But I'm a big fan of your work, you know what I'm saying? Whoop the whoop, and that was just dope. That was dope as hell to me, man. That was dope. That was super dope.
What's some of the best cities that you toured in? You've been all over the world.
If you are wondering why that detail matters, some people believe that when Diddy put his arm around someone, it was a signal to move to a more private setting. This idea has been connected to past rumors involving Justin Bieber. There were claims that Diddy had too much influence over Justin when he was younger. In one clip, Justin appears uncomfortable when Diddy brings him up, and fans noticed the awkward reaction. Many people felt that something about the situation did not seem right.
What's up, man? You good?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, young brother, everything's good?
Everything's
Selling
great.
out arenas and everything? Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot. But you never really got my number.
That detail carries more weight than it may initially appear. According to speculation circulating online, physical gestures like that, Diddy placing his arm around someone, have been interpreted as a signal to transition to a more private, closed-off setting. This theory has resurfaced older, long-standing rumors surrounding Justin Bieber, particularly concerning the level of influence Combs reportedly held over him during his teenage years. A resurfaced clip has added fuel to that speculation, showing Justin visibly uneasy the moment Diddy's name enters the conversation. An awkward, telling reaction that did not go unnoticed by fans. For many viewers, the discomfort on his face said more than any statement could. While nothing has been formally confirmed regarding Bieber, the unease captured in that footage has left a lasting impression on those who have seen it. And for a growing number of people, something about that dynamic has never quite added up.
I apologize to anyone this video may be embarrassing to. Let's just jump right into it. Some of you may know me or may not. I'm a music producer who's a writer and musician. Different genres. I started in the gospel and jazz and R&B and worked my way over to the hip hop side. I've been working on an album. I took a year off straight working on this album. That album is the Love album, Off the Grid by Diddy. And it's Grammy nominated right now as we speak. I should be celebrating, but the truth is I'm not. Taking this album on has required so much time, months and at a time, 16 hours, 24 hours a day. Sometimes, Diddy will request certain works to be done until...
Since Jay-Z got wrapped into this lawsuit against Diddy, he's been trying to distance himself, and his lawyer, Alex, went as far as to say that Mr. Carter has nothing to do with Mr. Combs' case or Mr. Combs, saying they knew each other professionally for a number of years. Just like in all professions, people know each other. At the music awards, they support each other. If you go to an NBA All-Star game, they support each other. So he's listing out these events that Jay-Z and Diddy have been spotted at together. This lawsuit, originally filed in October 2024, was amended on December 8th to include Jay-Z's name. The accusations center around an alleged incident at an after party following an awards show more than 2 decades ago. We all know that this involves a 13-year-old girl, and the details are disturbing, but Jay-Z claims he has nothing to do with it.
All due respect to Jay-Z, there's an awful lot of pictures of you running around in your undies at parties with Diddy. And so you were at some of these parties. When you see that, it's hard to walk away from that visual.
Now, to really break down their relationship, their friendship, we have to go all the way back into the 90s. Jay-Z and Diddy first met in the 90s because they were both rising stars in the New York music scene. Both were born into single mother households in rough neighborhoods. They used their shared experiences to forge a bond that extended beyond music, way beyond music. Their first major collaboration actually came in the wake of a tragedy, the death of Notorious B.I.G. The two joined forces on Jay-Z's album In My Lifetime. 2 years later, they teamed up again for Diddy's single, Do You Like It? Do You Want It? No, sir. I'm gonna give you no consent right now. No. In 2001, Jay-Z said, "We were young, hungry, and dealing with a lot of pain. That kind of energy brought us together." Which right off the bat, that is a concerning friendship. Like, major red flags go up because you both are clearly traumatized from something in your past, and you're kind of egging each other on. Now, Diddy early on created his record label Bad Boy Records, and then a few years later, Jay-Z followed suit with Rockefeller. In 2012, Diddy was quoted saying, "Jay has always been ahead of the curve. I respect his hustle from day one." Now, in the early 90s, Diddy was trouble, just as much trouble as he has been in the 2000s.
So 2000 VMAs, this girl is trying to get in, but she's not having any luck. She sees this limo driver and he tells her, "Hey, look, there's this party going on down the street. Come through. It's Diddy's party." The limo driver allegedly says, "And you're his type, so I'm sure you're gonna get in." Mind you, this girl is that age we spoke about earlier in the video, which we're now gonna be calling cupcake age. Now, I know that sounds gross, but well, that's the point, isn't it? Anyway, he says, "Look, I'm finna drive Diddy there first. I'm gonna swing back, pick you up." She says, "Cool." He drives Diddy there, he swings back, he picks her up, drives her to the spot. She said, "That mug jumping." She said, "The party going off. You see celebrities from all over, but you also see a lot of the really intense kind." So she talks to a couple celebrities, she chilling, and then she has something to drink. She says she immediately feels super duper lit and has to go lie down. She goes to a bedroom, she lies down. Then allegedly Diddy, Jay-Z, and an unknown female celebrity walk in. Diddy walk in tweaking. She said, "Wild eyes," talking about, "You ready to party?" He kind of shaking her. She falls. She then gets up. Then allegedly Jay-Z picks her up. And well, this next part might be a little intense. So if you're sensitive to that sort of thing, skip to when I put my hand up like this. So Diddy and that unnamed celebrity at this point are just watching while Jay-Z does stuff he shouldn't be doing. Then Diddy, after Jay-Z takes a step back, then begins to do stuff he shouldn't be doing. Afterwards, Diddy then allegedly tries to force her to continue. That's when she gets her wits about her and begins to scrap. Diddy's shocked, what's going on? She grabs her clothes, takes off. She's running through the party holding her clothes, and apparently nobody's doing anything to help. She gets outside, she gets those clothes on, runs to a gas station. Hand up for the folks that ain't want to hear all that, by the way. She gets to a gas station. The female clerk at the gas station sees that this girl's in distress, so she gives her a phone. She grabs a phone, she calls her dad, says, hey, I snuck out, come pick me up. Pops picks her up. Pops takes her home. Now, she then says this has affected her through her whole life and it put her in a deep depression. That's important. Now, let's talk about real quick what Jay-Z has to say about this, because he responds immediately. He says that lawyer, Tony Busby, remember that lawyer I showed you earlier? Jay-Z says he's basically doing all this for the cash. He's trying to blackmail me. Jay-Z then says for a crime as heinous as this, why would you file a civil suit? File a criminal suit against me. Now, for those of you that don't know, there are two different types of trials in the United States. There's a criminal case where basically the police is going after you, you're going to jail. Then there's civil, which this case is. You're not going to jail, but you more often than not have to pay somebody money for.
Here's the rewritten version. The allegations have inevitably drawn scrutiny toward Jay-Z and Beyoncé, with a growing number of fans and observers questioning how much the couple may have known. The suspicion largely stems from Jay-Z and Diddy's decades-long relationship, one that began as a rivalry rooted in New York's competitive hip-hop scene before evolving into a close professional and personal alliance. The two collaborated regularly, championed each other publicly, and moved in the same elite circles for years. For many, that proximity makes it difficult to accept that Jay-Z could have been entirely unaware of what was allegedly unfolding behind closed doors. Further raising eyebrows is the fact that Diddy was a known presence at Jay-Z's ROC Nation brunch events, high-profile gatherings that attracted the industry's most powerful names. More seriously, Jay-Z's name has surfaced in legal filings tied to the Combs investigation. In one lawsuit, an anonymous woman alleged she was assaulted at a post-MTV Video Music Awards party in New York. It's an event she claims involved both Sean Combs and Jay-Z.
Meanwhile, Jay-Z made a scathing statement of denial, mainly targeting Tony Busby. He said in part, quote, "My lawyer received a blackmail attempt called a demand letter from a lawyer named Tony Busby. What he had calculated was the nature of these allegations and the public scrutiny would make me want to settle. No, sir, it had the opposite effect. It made me want to expose you for the fraud you are in a very public fashion. So no, I will not give you one red penny." Now that statement went on to call Tony Busby a deplorable human, a man with no valor, and an ambulance chaser in a cheap suit. Now while Diddy sits in a jail cell awaiting trial, by the way, pleaded not guilty to those charges, denies all the accusations made in the various lawsuits, Jay-Z and Tony Busby have been going back and forth with lots of motions filed, complaints filed, and accusations flying on both ends.
The case took a significantly more complex turn when the lawsuit revealed that an unidentified female celebrity was also allegedly present during the incident. The accuser never disclosed the identity of that individual. But widespread speculation quickly pointed toward Beyoncé, largely due to Jay-Z's reported presence at the event. The assumption was straightforward: where Jay-Z was, Beyoncé may have been as well. However, the situation shifted dramatically when the victims subsequently withdrew certain names from the lawsuit, a move that raised immediate questions about why and under what circumstances that decision was made. Reports began circulating that considerable legal pressure had been applied, not only directed at the accuser herself, but allegedly at her attorney, Tony Busby, as well. Whether that pressure was a standard legal response or something more calculated remains a matter of serious debate. But for many following the case, the withdrawal of names felt less like a voluntary choice and more like a forced one.
Those claims, but now Jane Doe has dropped her case. Attorneys for Jane Doe filed a voluntary notice of dismissal with prejudice, which means that she cannot refile this case in the future. Now, I reached out to an attorney for Jane Doe. He declined to comment, and I asked, was there a settlement agreement of any sorts behind the scenes? And he said no comment. Now, I reached out to an attorney for Jay-Z, and I want to read you the statement that they gave gave to me. They say in part, quote, by standing up in the face of heinous and false accusations, Jay has done what few can. He pushed back, he never settled, he never paid one red penny, he triumphed and cleared his name. Now, Jane Doe had previously acknowledged inconsistencies in her story, but she always stood by her core allegation that she said that she was both of these men. Now, I reached out to attorneys for Sean Combs, and they tell me that the dismissal of this lawsuit is, quote, another confirmation that these lawsuits are built on falsehoods, not facts.
Jay-Z continued to fight back by turning the situation into a legal battle against Tony Busby and the accuser. Through legal pressure and counterclaims, the case eventually collapsed in his favor.
She alleges that Jay-Z and Diddy assaulted her at a VMA's after party in the year 2000 when she was just 13 years old. Jay-Z has already denied these claims, but in a new Twitter post, Tony Busby says that Jay-Z tried to silence his client. You can pause to read the entire statement. Busby says that Mr. Carter, aka Jay-Z, previously denied being the one who sued him and his firm, and that he filed his frivolous case under a pseudonym. Busby says his firm sent Jay-Z's lawyer a demand letter on behalf of an alleged victim, and that victim never demanded a penny from him. Busby also shared this Instagram post in which he claims that there has been a coordinated and aggressive effort that has included harassing his kids, contacting his clients and former clients to encourage them to sue him, and contacting his former colleagues or employees asking if he has, quote, abused them. Busby further alleges that there have been mysterious people following him and his family, but that he won't be bullied or intimidated. He says, people will see through this effort to discredit me and my clients, and the truth will be revealed. I also won't allow.
Jay-Z's response to the lawsuit was anything but quiet. He came out swinging, mobilizing significant legal resources the moment his name was tied to Combs in the filings. His legal team moved swiftly and aggressively, deploying counterclaims, formal legal challenges, and carefully crafted public statements in rapid succession. Officially, Jay-Z framed his response as a defense against blackmail and extortion, alleging that attorney Tony Busby had deliberately timed the lawsuit to coincide with a major Beyoncé event in an attempt to maximize pressure and extract a financial settlement. While that explanation was his stated position, many observers noted that the sheer force and speed of his response read as something beyond routine. Legal defense, it carried the unmistakable weight of someone protecting far more than just their reputation. Regardless of interpretation, the strategy appeared to work. By early 2025, the original lawsuit naming both Jay-Z and Sean Combs had been formally dropped.
Were later removed from the updated complaint.
But as people who were at this party, that he claims, by the way, was held at a property owned by Emilio and Gloria Estefan in Miami and then taken by a secret tunnel to Sean Combs' property. The complaint that was filed at the beginning of the month read, high-profile individuals including Jacob Arabo, Jacob the jeweler, Jay-Z, Gloria Estefan, LeBron James, and Beyoncé Knowles Carter are identified as witnesses due to their presence or knowledge of the events surrounding the freak-off orchestrated